Hello and welcome to Let's Plays Disco Elysium Part 48. And now the end is near. That's how I feel. If you're so inclined, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. And if you would be so kind, check out the Patreon. So we're just exploring this sea fort, which looks like someone may have been living here. It's mysteriously quiet right now. It's too quiet, just a bit too quiet. But we can get a free shirt. Why the hell not? We're taking this as evidence.
There's a greasy old spring mattress in the corner, resting on piles of soft cover books. White linen and a pillow are visible under a worn-out caracol blanket.
Someone has been squatting here. The linen is fresh, recently washed.
The lieutenant inspects the bed. How recently?
You force the rest of the sentence out through pain, thick as molasses, no longer able to hear yourself speak.
You know, officer, you can rest here if you are feeling tired. I will keep watch. You could use some rest for what's ahead.
Oh. We're actually, we seem okay in the health department. No time for rest now.
Yes, anytime. If you need a rest later, it's okay by me.
Okay.
You don't have to be a hero.
It might be an idea, I'm not sure. Might put us at minuses or something if we don't.
An old cylindrical generator is nested above the ammo lift, with makeshift electrical wiring running out of its side and across the floor. The cables disappear into the wall to your right. The lieutenant puts his hand on the metal barrel, checking for warmth.
It's cold now, but someone has been maintaining it. The wiring has been repaired.
What kind of generator is this?
Liquid carbon. I would imagine it takes mazout.
He points to the open fuel cap on the side of the dynamo.
The kind that's favored by vagrants and fuel thieves. It's been a long winter, long and cold.
If anyone stayed here, they'd need a generator.
What does this mean, a generator here?
I don't know. I'm not a philosopher.
I meant, why is it here?
Someone with basic electrical skills has restored it in order to keep the room warm. Maybe it's the fire guy.
The wind outside picks up suddenly, with a faint howl. Inside, it's warm.
Where do these wires lead?
Downstairs, somewhere?
Tap on the side?
A hollow ring. The canister is empty. Dust falls from the generator and down into the ammo lift.
Okay.
Books and magazines lie scattered on the floor and on a makeshift cupboard. They are not particularly well organized.
Sift through them.
Most are soft covers, serialized fantastique and detective stories from the 20s and 30s. This disparate digest includes the classic Animal Adventures, popular depictions of man versus nature by amateur naturalists T&T Harpin, husband and wife, widely read by people from all walks of life. Who doesn't like nature? Who doesn't want to survive?
Indeed.
Among what is mostly commercial fiction and serialized stories, you find a magazine cathodique for electrical engineering. Then it's back to pulp, light erotica, an international thriller about circuit benders.
Someone's made themselves a home.
Apparently. Nothing unusual stands out about this. I feel like we can get our conceptualization, whatever we're calling it, a bit higher than that.
Soft covers,
Okay. The chair is all part of it. What is this? +2 empathy. Very nice. So that would replace our armour for the time being. And probably want this one on and this one on for conceptualizing stuff. Let's see how we do with that check now.
Soft covers, serialized fantastique and detective stories, animal adventures, a magazine for electrical engineering, and an international thriller. Also, light erotica and some historical novels from the century past.
Not great, but does anything stand out as unusual?
Oh yes, under the bed, there is a rather extensive collection of critical theory, that is, dour, life non-affirming left-wing literature, published by small imprints such as Abattoir Firm and Ouzia. It's not exactly light reading.
Kim, look. Deranged commie ranting.
Ouzia.
He
I agree.
enunciates the
Humanitarian sciences. It stands out. Not a lot of critical theory around in Havashol West.
Your incendiary remark has failed to provoke him. Wasn't there some in the
that
communist students'
wasn't aimed at
room?
him. A student in the apartment building seemed to have some as well.
Well, yes. That one student did.
The little books seem inconsequential next to the big pile of frivolous entertainment covering them.
Critical theory books. What do you think this means?
Again, I am not a philosopher, but whoever has lived here, they have some education and a certain set of interests.
Interesting. It's clear you like the hard stuff, Brota.
What is my lower intestine going on about?
Lower intestine? The term is metabolic and circulatory system.
Okay, but what's the hard stuff?
Fascism, Brota.
Oh, okay, stomach. I've made up my mind about fascism.
You're going to keep your vooz, right? Keep your vooz, Brota.
Opt out of fascism.
There's a slow, painful growl somewhere in your intestines. It is one of betrayal and disappointment.
What, just because we were critical of communism? It doesn't make you a fascist. I mean, you know, last I checked. Maybe there are only two sides. This great blast door must weigh over 10 tons. Rust peels off it. I wonder what's through this door. Do you think we should stick our armour back on? Just in case.
You see a small metal door nested inside a larger one. A heavy steel blast door. There is a conventional keyhole above the handle. It's very small.
What's on the other side?
Another part of the island, probably. The lock looks like it could still be usable.
How do we open this?
Maybe this is one of the doors we don't open.
Really? He looks at the door, then at its bigger brother, then at the lock.
He's right. It would be better to open its big brother. A powerful engine hangs under the ceiling. It must control the blast door.
You're right. We opened the big one. Do you see any controls anywhere?
I think there's a console just southeast. Let's look around. Getting the blast door open seems like the best plan.
He shuffles his feet to stay warm. Southeast. Where is southeast from here? We have to go back this way. we can go like around. Fine. Aha, control panel. And a hatch of some sort. Hatch is jammed shut. And there's another door, which we almost certainly didn't come through. Let's look through this door. Must lead to another part of the island. A firing slit. You can't see inside. You're going to get shot like walking this way. Oh, too bad. It must have been a direct hit to take out such a huge chunk. The distant sound of cargo ships' signal horns echo on the water. Indeed. Seems to be a bit more to the island this way. We gotta have a look. We gotta. Whoops. The ice cracks under your feet. Be careful not to fall through. Okay. That's kind of discouraging us from being so adventurous. The pain in your pelvis makes you wince, then you continue. And that's hey, stop. Stop running everywhere. The inside of the fortress, you make out the console and the glass door. Just gonna check if there's anything around this way. Ooh, chain.
A strange feeling looking at the water. Maybe you should just wander off into the sea. Leave
Why?
it all and walk in.
Why?
Perhaps there's someone there, under the water, waiting for you.
Oh man.
Where it has always been. Smelling of tutti frutti and betrayal.
But it's cold.
Yes, cold and still. But love is warm, like the inside of her mouth.
No.
Yes. No. We're not starting with that. Not now. Not this time. This thought is over.
Raise your sight.
In the rain mirror of the bay, you see Martinez, reflected. Tall edifices of ruins reach into the water, like shimmering towers. And the shacks too. Pine trees and motor lorries, upside down. Islets and posts, like stepping stones, lead into the water in front of you. Go. Step in. It's been too long.
Shake your head. The winch is broken. Rust has eaten what remains of the chain. What is up here? Ooh, this is interesting. The depot that supplied this chain is long gone from the coast. A weathered artillery map showing coordinates in the Bay of Revelchok. An old medicine cabinet newly stocked with droning. Might need that.
There's a rain-soaked mattress on a concrete slab, only half covered by the crumbling roof. At the head of it, double embrasures, firing slits like two eyes in the wall.
B triple prime. This looks like a good place to shoot from.
The lieutenant lowers his voice, stepping closer with his hand on his gun. Inspect the mattress.
A single-person mattress, modern, civilian use. Brand name, Marjorie. There's a fuel stain on the cover, along with cigarette burns, and an empty can of beans on the ground next to it, filled to the brim with cigarette butts.
Pick one out of the can.
The silhouette of a tobacco picker adorns the paper filter. The brand, Tio Moteri. Contemporary Revacholians prefer Dubois, a local blend from the Southern Islands, or Astra, the legendary cigarette from Grad. Tio Moteri is favoured by older men for its paper filter tips, sweet smell, and added tar.
Tio Moteri, like the ones we found at Land's End, remember?
I may have been wrong when I said it wasn't important. This means the same person could have visited both locations.
He stares into the can for a second.
I didn't see any signs of smoking inside, though. If people live there, they keep it tidy. This here may also be a smoking spot.
Inspect the wall.
There's a firing slit in the wall in front of you, like a little window.
Touch the concrete.
Quite old and grimy, from years without cleaning by anything other than the rain.
Look through the hole in the concrete.
The springs screech as you lean on the mattress and crane your neck to look out. Trepidation. A tingling feeling in your stomach. A small piece of Martinez coastline opens up in the square in front of you, like a tiny landscape painting. 1 kilometer across the water. The ruins look familiar.
On the left,
A towering skyscraper, its top floors shaved off by artillery fire. Capeside apartments. Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 33A and 33B.
and on the right,
The red chimney and collapsed back of the 4-story tenement in front of the Whirling in Rags, Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 10. The doomed commercial area.
and between the two,
The box-shaped silhouette of the Whirling in Rags. Its sloped roof, a tiny fleck of light catches your eye on the rooftop, sunlight reflecting off the upstairs window of Clausia's room.
motherfucker.
What does that mean? Do you have line of sight to the window?
More than that,
Kim, with a pair of binoculars, I would be able to see inside the room.
A pair of binoculars? Or a scope of a rifle? You'd be prone, lying on a mattress, barrel resting on the embrasure.
He points to the makeshift bed.
cheek against a cheek rest, hand on the hair trigger, on a calm day like this.
Kim, I could make it. I could make the shot.
Good. I think we have it, detective. The origin of the shot. This is the sniper's nest.
He pats you on the back, 3 pats in a row.
Affirmative.
Why didn't we come here before?
Why? We don't go everywhere in the 1,000-meter radius of the crime scene. That's not procedure.
6 people are dead. We could have prevented it.
Don't beat yourself up, officer.
I always
We did
beat
not put
myself
guns
up.
in their hands or get them drunk.
He looks north, over the fortification, and adds,
The lieutenant pauses. Regret comes over him.
We will make up for it. Here. I feel it.
could the shooter still be here?
Where?
On the island?
He does not answer, just nods. With his back hunched, he looks around once more and says,
We should move now.
Whew. By Jove, I think we've got it, but yes, I also think we're very likely to encounter the gunman. And, do you have any bullets, Kim? You feel eyes on your back, someone's watching, but you can't say where. I only have 1 bullet. Tell me you have more ammo, Kim. Right. Time to get that door open. Do you think we should get a gun out? It doesn't have any bullets in it.
Green paint flecks off the monoblock aluminium cabinet. There are rows of switches on the front panel, a frequency band, and even a keyboard.
Run your fingers across the keyboard.
The keys rattle like teeth. This keyboard hasn't been functional in decades.
What is this then?
The console of an anti-computation device. The generator upstairs, with wires coming out. They terminate here.
The lieutenant points to the wires running into the machine. Could this open the blast door?
Possibly. Urgence, ouvert, allumé, radio diffusée. It sounds like this device was used to control the electronics here. Maybe it still does.
This device was used to control the electronics in the room. It could open doors, control lights, function as a radio computer.
Ooh, slide radio
The
dial?
dial slides under the glass. Silently, you make out defunct stations on the UKV frequency. The words, Feld Insula, are written on the band.
Insular. This is an off-air radio computer, I believe, used for military communications.
It's an air-gapped system, an off-air military model. Its circuits are nearly impossible to bend, i.e., it cannot be remote-controlled.
Push light interior.
Nothing happens.
Oh, doesn't it indeed? Turn emergency
We need to
open.
restore power before using this, officer.
Oh.
The generator, it didn't look like there was fuel in it.
Okay.
We should look around outside. There are barrels all over.
I found
Maybe one of
some.
them still has something in it.
He looks into the dim light to his right.
The boat engine.
Not in agreement. I mean, yeah, we could get some from the boat engine, but we already found
But
some.
officer, then we would have to swim back to the mainland. Let's just look around, okay?
The consul stands by.
So we just have to get the fuel up to here.
This old cylindrical generator waits with its fuel cap open. Makeshift electrical wiring runs out of its side and across the floor.
Pour fuel into the tank.
The lieutenant assists you, holding the canister up to the fuel tank as you tilt. Dark brown, viscous fluid pours out, and the room fills with a chemical smell. There's a red starter switch on the side of the cylinder and a start rope on the other side.
Pull
The
the rope.
lieutenant flicks the switch. The recoil start wakes the old generator up. The machine sputters like an old warhorse before settling down to a rattle.
That should do it.
Okay. But it's also extremely noisy. I think we've almost certainly alerted somebody to our presence here. Although, when we open that big door, they might notice as well. Maybe we should keep an eye out behind
A
us.
dim
if we
golden
close the door.
glow animates the console. Faint, like a ghost light. Urgence ouvert reads one dial key.
It's on. Turn emergency open.
Automatic boot.
Okay, turn emergency open.
The blast door opens with a series of clicks. A shaft of light appears, then widens as the light shines in.
Here we go. Whoa, that's a big door.
After you.
Before, when we were walking across the sand, I felt someone watching me.
So did I. Not back there, but I felt it since we came here.
What if we get into another fight?
Don't worry. I have a gun.
I also have a gun, but it has no bullets.
I know. It was not easy to acquire.
Good point. What's there? Point to
I
the
don't
door.
know.
Okay. Maybe I should get gun in hand. Oh, I do have gun in hand. There we go. Any other things that could be useful? Another gun. About 2 guns. There we go. We at least look scary. We can do nothing with either of these, but we look scary. Oh, shit. Walk slow. It might be dangerous. No kidding. I think we might want to change our jacket because we're still in like art jacket and that just doesn't seem to be appropriate somehow. That one's a good jacket. Look, seriously, have we have we got any stealth really? Have we? Let's do the super bright reaction speed. We're also terrible with reaction speed, but no, we have to try. A rubber dinghy. It's deflated, broken. Small white flowers blossom all around you. Like the one we found on Glass's balcony. There he is. The air smells sweet and scary somehow. What, because there's a gunman right there, maybe?
An old man wearing tracksuit trousers leans on the frame stock of his rifle. He gathers a big ball of spit in his mouth, then spits it out into the extinguished fire before him. He raises his black eyes, hooded by creased eyelids, to meet yours. Unclouded by cataracts, his eyesight is sharp. He's practically tearing up from spite. Hatred got the best of him a long time ago. This man hates everything.
Nice gun you got there.
It's not nice. It's a piece of shit. But it gets the job done.
He shrugs. Is that a Belle Magrave?
It's a 3-Angong 446.
Southeast Samaran made. Exotic. Must be defunct too. No modern rifle manufacturer of that name springs to mind.
A Samaran rifle. How did you get hold of one?
It was sent to us by our brothers in the Sinyao commune. Military aid.
He pats the rifle.
It has stayed true to him. He can still make it sing.
The Hisin Yao commune?
You heard me. It's good now. Like chalk, white from the board.
His gaze turns inwards. Did you close the glass door?
I did. And you opened it. How?
He breathes out with a wheeze. I refueled the generator, then used the console.
I should have burned that console down.
He shakes his head. And how did you know I was coming?
Reactionary rock and roll music. Playing on the water.
Yep, that is true.
Told you we shouldn't play sad FM.
It was not reactionary, it was cool.
The fascists were right about rock and roll. It is degenerate, hip gyrating, mental illness music.
Well, you're pleasant. You've retained your eyesight.
My eyesight? Yes. Helps me see all the shit.
Are you the fire guy?
The what now? I can't hear you.
Did you recently tell 2 kids to put out their fire? 2 twins.
I may have. All sorts of little rats have come sniffing around, trying to give up the position. Fire guy. Regressive bourgeoisie henchman. Can't even talk like a grown-up.
He shakes his head. He doesn't realise they're kids, right? Your weapon has stayed true to you. Mine stayed true to me. Show him the gun in your hand.
Yes, I bet you've killed a lot of people with it. You fascist fuck.
Look, I didn't subscribe to the fascism, mate.
Have you come to make me one of them?
His grip on the rifle tightens.
We have come to ask you questions, nothing more.
The lieutenant puts his hand on his holster.
If you do not comply, we will take you in. Do you understand?
Another spitball lands in the ashes. That's all the answer he gives.
I'm not sure that was, like, a good thing to do, but, I mean, at least it's showing that we won't go down without a fight. We have no bullets. Do I ask him to put the gun down or so he can keep it? I'm going to say he can keep it because, let me put it this way. If he tries to shoot us with a sniper rifle, yeah, he might do it, but it's not exactly ideal, and there are 2 of us. I'm with the police. You can keep the gun, but keep it down. Not one move.
No.
The lieutenant aims his pistol square at the man's head and says,
Put it down now, sir.
Or you're gonna blow my brains out before you question me.
There's a moment's silence.
To hell with it. It's a walking stick anyway. It's out of bullets.
As useless as mine. The old man lays the rifle down, carelessly, then looks at it lying there. Pick up the gun lying in the sand.
His gaze follows your motions. The rifle feels surprisingly light in your hand. Frame stocked and patched in places with tape and wire.
Is this it? Is this the murder weapon?
Still warm from his parched hands. Not the metal. The metal is ice cold. This weapon has been modified several times.
Inspect it closer.
The rifle's in a shabby state, like a crutch that's seen too much travel. Hieroglyphs are embossed into the forearm, made of walnut. On the butt, you see Vespertine writing, burnt into the wood. Triangong, 4.46mm, made in Sinyao.
This uses jacketed ammunition, 4.46.
The right type and the right calibre.
The lieutenant nods, glancing at the gun.
He's liking this.
It's as he said, it's a Triangong made in Hsingyo.
No one said it has to be a Belmagrave. We were just guessing.
The lieutenant does not take his eyes off the old man.
From ballistics, it could easily have been a Triangong, too.
It doesn't matter if it was made in Shanti Shanti. All it has to do is use jacketed ammunition. And it does.
The rifle has been patched and modified several times.
I wonder how old it is.
The old man does not answer. He just stares in front of him.
Stow the gun.
The old man keeps following your motion with his gaze. His right arm twitches suddenly. Some kind of involuntary response. Something is slightly off with his motorics. This looked very much like the murder weapon. It could be used against him to get a confession. In time.
Who are you?
My name is Josef Lilianovich Dross, Political Commissar of the 114th Anti-Aircraft Division of the 4th Army of the Commune of Revachol. I am a deserter a partisan, and a prisoner of war. This is my termless surrender.
His eyes turn to the reeds again, dead and dull.
The commune of Revachol? Do you mean the ICM? Your holdover from the...
From the Insular Indian Citizens Militia, the army of the revolution. I was recruited in Jamrock in 07, trained in the École de Contrôle Orient, and consigned to emergency defense duties in 08. I left my unit on the eve of the landing. When I returned here on May 14th, the commune had fallen. Still armed and ideologically trained, I wrote a criticism of myself and resumed partisan duties.
51 minus 8 equals 43.
You've been on this island for 43 years?
No. I've been on other islands too.
He looks into the fire. A wisp of smoke rises from somewhere between the charred logs.
I was an resurrection until they turned it into a spa in 18. Then I was an E48, a nameless sound, until the sea washed over it. Then I came back here. That was 22 years ago.
So you've been hiding here for 43 years?
43 years and 10 months.
That's the length of my entire life.
It's too long. It's not how a human being should live. But I couldn't just forget what I saw.
He grimaces, clearly in pain.
He just couldn't.
He couldn't give up.
He nods. But he can now.
What have you been doing during all this time?
Hiding, fishing, waiting.
He looks across the water.
2 police officers step out of the Whirling in Rags cafeteria. Satellite officer Jean-Vic Mayer inspects giant letters across the plaza mosaic in dark red government-marked heavy fuel oil. Patrol officer Judith Minot points west. The fishing village. She glances at her watch. We meet in 15 minutes. It's a 10-minute walk. The officers go, leaving behind the writing, still smelling of petroleum. One day, it says, I will return to your side.
Always waiting.
The old man turns his eyes from the shore and back to you. For what?
For her to return.
Her who?
Girl, child, revolution.
Girl Child Revolution? I come from there, point to the mainland. I can assure you that is not what people are planning.
I am not a fool. I know. The material base for an uprising has eroded. The working class has betrayed mankind.
He blinks his black eyes.
The historic opportunity for a revolution has passed. It will not come back anymore, however hard I try, whatever I do.
You said you deserted your unit.
I was just 16 years old, 15 when I volunteered. I had a lapse of faith. And of courage, too.
A lapse of faith.
You could say I misunderstood the historic role of the proletariat and thought Mazovian socioeconomics were fallible. For a second, I doubted the irreducible laws of historic materialism. A second is all it took
For what?
for reaction to take hold.
What's reaction?
Petty bourgeois terror. It's in all men.
I don't think it was reaction. You were just afraid.
It's the same thing. You haven't seen it. Not really. Not naked. It's impossible not to be afraid.
It remains unclear what it is. He makes leaps he doesn't expect you to follow.
And this was when?
The lieutenant instinctively looks to his notebook, but does not take it out.
May the 13th, 08, 44 years ago. The horizon was black with coalition airships. Their petroleum rose to the sky, and it looked like it formed the clouds, storm clouds. When they started shelling, it was dark magic.
Dark magic?
The combined might of international capital. All at once, all the greed and terror in the world tore into Revachol. It lifted streets from the ground and turned houses into ghosts. We were in the flak tower.
He gestures towards it.
Huddled on the floor. The artillery was 80 kilometers away in Ozon, but I knew the commune would fall. We would all be turned into ash. So I said I was going to the map room.
He looks east.
A terrible shame still within him. The lobes of his ears are red with it. The shame and smallness of what he became.
You didn't go to the map room.
No. I climbed the chain link across the water and hid inland, in the bunkers there, like the weakest of the weak. A mouse, frightened at the ordnance all night, and the sound of the rotors in the morning, whirring.
He looks at the sky. What was that?
Airships. I climbed out into hell. The landing was complete. The chain was submerged. I had to swim back. The fortress was half submerged too, shattered. They'd all drowned in the lower levels or got torn to shreds above. The anti-aircraft gun had malfunctioned. So had I. I left them without ideological direction. It was real. I'd seen it. I'd seen it in reality.
He opens his eyes and stares right through you. Seen what?
The mask of humanity fall from capital. It has to take it off to kill everyone, everything you love. All the hope and tenderness in the world. It has to take it off just for 1 second to do the deed. And then you see it, as it strangles and beats your friends to death. The sweetest, most courageous people in the world. You see the fear and power in its eyes. Then you know.
What?
That the bourgeois are not human.
Say nothing. Let him finish.
I had to. I had to fight it. I had to never stop.
The old man falls silent. His black eyes keep piercing your skin as he looks to some great distance behind you, shaking his head slowly, retreating from it. What is this place, this island?
It's not an island, Duat. It's a defensive fortification of the commune of Revachol. And I am its last surviving defender.
What was it used for?
The congenitally deformed King Philip II built it to restrict access to the Bay of Revachol. We captured it in '02, retrofitted the fort with an AA gun to defend against an airborne landing. Against the whole world.
You mean the landing? Retaking of Revachol?
Coalition military called it Operation Deathblow.
He winces.
I later found out on the radio they called it Deathblow. You're one of them. Tell me, who speaks like that? We had 50 million people on Caillou alone.
Coalition military.
Iblis,
Iblis?
the black-eyed angel.
How have you survived all this time?
How does anyone survive? I steal.
He looks at his worn running shoes. What do you steal?
Supplies, vegetables, I collect rainwater. It's the life of a dog, not a human being.
He coughs once more, then puts his hand on his belly.
How is your health, Mr. Dross?
I've been throwing up blood since winter. Red, like beetroot. Been passing it in stool, too.
He does seem frail. Gaunt for his age. More like 75 than 65. Trouble putting on weight could mean cancer.
The RCM can provide medical services. You need to be looked over.
I need to die. You don't have medical facilities. You have guns. That's all they give you. Toy guns.
We have Dramamine, yes, and other opiate-based painkillers. You must be in pain.
I have been running out of that stuff.
A light goes on in his eyes. He smacks his dry lips. This is a serious situation. You need to be looked over, and we can do it.
There's nothing to look over. The triage is in, and it's black. Administer morphine. Moribund.
How have you coped mentally?
I haven't.
No.
I have holes in my brain. Years missing. Others filled with pain only. A decade of...
His eyes roll into his skull and back.
I don't even know what. Inferno?
I also have holes in my brain. Point to your head. Ooh. I notice the lieutenant is about to say something. Perhaps I should let him speak?
I would imagine it gets tremendously difficult, mentally, to live in isolation.
Traitors. It's better alone. I watch the people of this city turn the lights back on more and more each year. Ruins, glimmering in the dark, like a fucking merry-go-round. It's disgusting.
I kind of wish they did have the merry-go-round. He looks down at his shoes, his face parched from the sun and wind. There's a wince of pain in there somewhere.
Are they not heartbroken? How could they have moved on?
How have you concealed yourself all these years?
It was hard in the Thames. I didn't have partisan training. They were searching for stragglers, those bloodhounds.
He closes his eyes.
Floodlights on the water at night.
There were posters, campaigns.
We communards still hoped, and they needed to snuff that hope out. The East capitulated. Martinez and Coal City were turned to dust.
He looks south.
But Jamrock, Forburg, even Coron, and Boogie Street, of course. Those fucking kips had Marsov coursing through their veins. And others too. Some cordons of Revachol was still fighting. There were cells. I tried to contact them.
He shakes his head.
Soon they all went silent. The frequency's dead.
How did you get between here and the mainland?
At night, I used a dinghy.
Ah,
I only went after dark then. When I got to the city, I stayed underground. Patrols, you lot, the commons too. They'd started snitching.
In the city, you move underground?
From bunker to bunker. Not anymore. No one cares now. I don't even have to hide. They think I'm another antisocial vagrant. I could walk straight into that town if I wanted.
He falls silent, his gaze fixed on the shacks huddled together across the water. Why don't you just walk there?
I don't want to. They're all traitors. Pigs, rabbits, and dogs. Men without ideals are only animals.
He does not want to see life moving on. People forgetting, drinking, laughing.
There's a small bunker under the Feld building. You stayed there?
The propaganda bunker. I used to, but not anymore.
Propaganda bunker?
They stored leaflets there. Broadcasting equipment too. Made broadcasts, I think. Propaganda officers. I buried them with their leaflets. They killed themselves. 2 young boys.
killed themselves.
A lot of our boys did. I spent some winters there. Never liked it. Kept thinking of them. No need to go underground anymore. It's better in the ruins, on the ground.
He stares at the ruins of the Feld building. The weapons cache under St. Ghislaine, 22B. Point to it. In the basement. Have you been there?
So you finally found it. There must have been a small squadron's worth of arms in there. Elmer Graves, right?
They were.
Useless now. Rusted away.
So you've been there?
Sleeping. Some nights. Ammo scrounging on others. Those McGraves were shit, even before they corroded. Some had bullets in the chamber, however.
You feel the dots connecting. Little dots on the map he's walked across.
One more question. Do you smoke Talmortiri cigarettes?
I do.
Ever smoke them on the mainland? Point to Land's End.
They're good. Plenty of tar. I like that boy on the pack, too. Reminds me of the last century.
Tell me another thing.
The old man looks across the water, at the city, the ruins, the motorways rising above it.
So, you're a communist soldier from the communist army?
No, I am not a soldier. I am an ideological officer. I belong to the party, not the army.
But you said you were trained and assigned to the Defence Corps.
Trained in historical materialism, then assigned as a political commissar by the party. These things used to mean something.
Wait, what does a political commissar do?
The old man does not answer. He tilts his silver head and looks at the reeds. You see a small tremor pass through his legs.
His job was to assure the army answers to civilian control and follow the ideology of the commune.
The lieutenant says softly.
Scientific communism. A commissaire politique is a night philosopher of the revolution, a future human.
The tracksuit-clad old man is suddenly reanimated.
Awakened from shutdown by the promise of ideology, he was like a cleric, a shepherd.
So you were like a priest?
No, the opposite of that. A future human, not a human of the past.
The future didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. That means you're a trained communist, right?
He nods slowly. Then another tremor.
Point to yourself. I'm a moralist.
No, you're not. You're part of the meat shield.
He squints.
The human shield that surrounds the fascists while they kill and rape. That's what you are.
Detective, we have not come here to discuss ideology.
The lieutenant gives you a stern look. He then turns to the old man.
We have come to ask questions regarding a murder investigation.
The old man spits into the fire pit. He does not say anything more. A jitter passes his lower body. There's definitely something off with his body. Something more than just metabolism or even cancer.
You said this was your termless surrender.
You're with the RCM, the coalition-appointed mob that enforces bourgeois morals in Revachol.
We enforce the law. We keep these animals from killing each other.
You're the RCM. You represent the Moralist International, the enemies of humanity who took this city. I represent their adversary, le Parti Communiste dans ce land. Take me to them as a prisoner of war. I have relinquished my weapon. I can no longer serve. No superiors can relieve me of my duty. You bulldoze them all to a mass grave for trying to free humanity.
His hand shakes and he breaks into a coughing fit.
A spray of blood from his mouth on the black charcoal in the fire pit. Rene, the royalist on the coast, said,
The communards signed the Revacolian Instrument of Surrender.
Only the army. Liberal reactionaries signed it for them. Traitors. who should have been burned alive.
He draws his breath.
I am a political commissar of the Communist Party, and the party never surrendered.
Is that part of why you've been here all this time? Because the party didn't surrender?
He just wipes the blood from his chin.
Understood.
I don't think you did.
Not
You
really.
live in a delusion. Radio shows, speed racing, and sporting goods. It's not real.
I have another serious question for you.
There's nothing serious in this world. It's a farce.
What have you been using this gun for?
I've used it for killing people.
But why?
Killing people?
It's a gun. That's what they're for. You want a moralist euphemism? Defending your family and your property. I haven't done that. I've used it to kill people.
Interesting. During or after the war?
There is no after the war. Class war is never over.
He shakes his head and smiles, his teeth rotten black.
So he's continued killing after hostilities ended. Okay. This is it. You can feel it, like battery acid on the tip of your tongue. Something you haven't felt in a while.
But what?
But this is what you live for. This is the shit. The great serotonin jackpot. The solution. Go in straight. No euphemisms. He doesn't like those. No. Be careful now. Slow and steady does it. Make him repeat it first. Don't mess this up. Remember, he wants to tell you. Get personal.
So which one do I say then?
Nothing comes to you. Silence. His black eyes look at you.
I know you want to tell me. Have you killed anyone with that gun in the last week or two?
I don't want to tell you anything, you grotesque murderer.
Wrong choice?
And why did you think that was a good idea? Don't listen to me. I'm wrong all the time.
So you're saying you killed people after active fighting stopped?
What did I just say?
He keeps shaking his head, erratically suddenly. He brushes something out of his eye.
What did I just tell you? Don't drop the ball now.
Did you use that gun to shoot and kill a colonel of the security contractor Fresnel?
The who now?
He leans in and cups his ear.
He heard you. He just wants to hear you say it again. This is
Okay.
dramatic flair on his part. Right choice. We're in. Do it, sire.
His name was Ellis Court-Tenaire. He was part of a security detail here in Martinez.
Oh, yes. That one.
He looks up at the sky and claps
Ugly
his tongue.
piece of work, that boy.
Did you kill him?
The lieutenant takes a sudden step toward him.
I am a son of a welder and an officer of the commune of Revachol. I do not collaborate with murderers and pederasts of the liberal regime.
A drop of blood in the saliva. Exhaust him with proof. Pile it all on him. Get a confession. The gun. The murder weapon is the perfect opener. The scent of blood in the air. But what else? There was something you can't remember. Something about the tracks. Suddenly, all those tracks are so confusing. Go with something else first.
Okay. We've done the ballistics. Point to the tower. The shot came from this island.
I saw you poking around there, looking for evidence. You're damn diligent when it comes to dead fascies. Did you like the view?
You had direct visibility. There are embrasures in the concrete, specifically meant for a top follower to use. And you had a long-range rifle in your possession.
The lieutenant's voice softens.
You've been here a long time, Mr. Druss. Too long. You clearly need medical aid.
I'm ready to die. I've done my part.
He's practically admitting to it. Dead fascists for fascists. Done his part.
You said fascies. You're admitting you killed him?
You're sad for your fascia brother, aren't you? One twig got broken. Now the others are sad.
He waves his hand. There's a twitch, then one more in his right eye.
Almost. He almost burst out there. Keep piling arguments. Anything.
Come on, what am I forgetting? Hit yourself in the side of the head.
Wait, here it comes. The goddamn Maybells. The dried Maybells on Clausia's roof.
Oh, yes.
There were Maybells in the grass when you got here. They're revolutionary symbols from the war. Nowhere else, nowhere in all of Martinez have you seen them this spring. Wait, don't forget the footprints. The diagonal prints in the dust in the secret space behind Clausia's bedroom. Now, they're gonna come up.
Of course. Thank you, Head. Thank you.
You got it. Remember, the boot prints were like no modern soul. Maybe don't beat yourself anymore, though. You're not immortal.
There were Maybells behind the victim's window.
Damn Maybells. The whole island is turning white with them.
He looks at the blossoming field behind you.
He seems tender suddenly. Nostalgic even. A strange mood swing.
So many this year, too. The spring is coming. No, it's already here. Wash the filth away.
I haven't seen these flowers anywhere else in Martinez, only here.
They blossom on the islets before. We fertilize them with our blood.
He looks to the water.
Resurrection was snow white in May, before they ruined it. The coast, too, before they piled their containers on top of it, filled with broken, useless trash for fat-fingered bourgeois children to play with.
You must get around a lot to stay undetected all these years. Do you know any secret paths? Pinball workshops?
The lieutenant's voice is soft, friendly.
I may.
A curious tremor passes his face. A young woman named Clausia. Ring any bells? These dried flowers were behind her window.
Clausier.
You know her, right? She was intimate. She had intimate relations with the victim, the mercenary.
With the victim.
He turns his sight from the whitening field of flowers and falls silent. Then the muscles in his jaw twitch, a spasm.
Almost. But you need one more. Just one. Or maybe two.
I don't need your cooperation. I've got this. Show him the gun.
Not a lot of guns around that use military-grade ammunition, are there?
It's a real gun. Not like your little musketeer pistol. I've seen you prance around with that, jumping hoops for the Liberals. You look like imbeciles. Why don't you ask them to give you real weapons, eh? Going against automatic rifles with a flame bomb. Of course you got all those boys killed.
Damn, he saw you. He's watched it happen. So he saw you. Okay, so what? Don't let it divert you.
Stop changing the subject. We have the murder weapon.
You know what? You're right. I'm convinced this made the shot. Should we call it?
Dramatically asked, do you think we have the murder weapon?
4.46 jacketed ammunition, modified for range. We have it. This is it.
I'm calling it. We have the murder weapon. The lieutenant takes out his notebook and draws a single line.
This feels good, doesn't it? Tying things up like this. When you have the murder weapon, you have the killer.
Murder.
The old man does not say more. He just glances into the reeds and then twitches once more.
Like a marionette on some invisible string. Tie up every loose end now. There's no
Okay.
other chance.
I wonder what brand of boots you're wearing.
Everything is brands with you individualists. Who cares what brand my shoes are? Sansa? Some shit.
He looks at his running shoes, covered in mud.
Show me the soles, please, Mr. Duras.
Fucking imbecile.
The old man stretches out his leg. A black and white spiral pattern covers the sole of the worn-out old running shoes on his feet.
The maker is Sensorique. The model is Corbeil, and the size is 43. These are not the unusual horizontal pattern soles you saw in the dust on the floor of the hidden room. They do, however, seem to be about the same size.
The size fits, but not the sole.
The lieutenant comes to the same conclusion. Wait, maybe there's a simpler explanation than that.
Sire, he doesn't have to be wearing them right now.
People change shoes. It doesn't mean you weren't there near the room the victim died in, sneaking around.
Racking those brains, are you? Desperate to report something back to your masters? They must have really loved that dead fuck.
The lieutenant gives you a quick sideways glance and nods to acknowledge. The prints were his. You can see it in those eyes. He can't keep them from flickering, looking for something. The old man stares at his own prints in the ash around the fire. Silent suddenly, some strange process within him. A gush of wind. Seagulls in the distance.
You know who he was. A coalition-trained murderer. Armored and armed. He wasn't human. The blunt end of a hammer, dripping with blood.
He was a killer, but he was still under the protection of the law.
Beating us to the ground, moaning with joy. You hounds get so thorough when a company-trained killer dies. I haven't seen you on this coast for 40 years. You know, maybe I should have killed one sooner. Got your attention. Now you stop beating druggies and prostitutes in your basement. Now you come to investigate. Not when they die by the hundreds.
He breathed through flared nostrils.
This is it. Shot him. Shot him. Say shot him, not killed him.
So you shot him.
Oh, the inhumanity.
He closes his black eyes.
One paramilitary less in Revachol.
You can almost see him squeeze a tear out of his eye. His fists begin to tremble from anger.
The lieutenant raises his right arm to hush you. Hush. He does not need to be pushed anymore. The ball is rolling.
Hold your breath.
I had them in my sights. Both of them. Him and the whore. I was breathing with them, in phase, and I pulled the trigger and flew on the air until I landed in his mouth.
He begins to smile.
I didn't think I had a shot like that in me anymore. I did. I saw him kneel there with his mouth full of death, and that stupid look on his face.
The smile quivers.
And his dick still in her.
Then what?
Nothing. I went to sleep. Next morning there were Maybells everywhere. The world was white, or what's left of it anyway. My last spring here. I knew the fascists would come to avenge their own, and so they did.
Mr. Duras, are you aware you're confessing to murder?
The lieutenant asks after a second of silence.
Yes.
A single word is all he gives. Well, in that dramatic moment, I think we'll leave it there. I hope to see you next time on Let's Plays Disco Elysium. If you would be so kind, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. And if you're so inclined, check out the Patreon. Thank you to my epic patrons who make videos like these possible. If you enjoyed this content and would like to see more, don't forget to subscribe.